What's up out there? We are back with another entry into my off-the-shelf series that I've been doing. Now, the general concept for this whole series is I go into my Steam library. I got a lot of games. I got far too many games that I can play. But when I see Steam news talking about a new game or maybe an old game with a new update or something like that, or I get a wild hair to try a game, the general idea of this series is to take a look at a game, play it for a little while, and then this series is like a first look or first impressions for that game. So I usually, if it's a brand new game, I will feature it here first. And then if it goes on to be a series or any kind of recurring videos, it'll be under a different playlist. But this is basically just a one and done for a number of different games. And as this series has progressed, I've started getting developers reaching out and offering me keys to try out their products. And it's pretty cool. I get to see games before they're released. And so up to this point so far, I've been trying out the games ahead of their launch. Now, it may be a demo or something like that, or an alpha or whatever. But usually when I get a key, it's going to have a release date associated with it. And then it comes out, and then been trying to put the videos out when the game releases. In the case of the games we're going to look at today, these are a little bit different. None of these have release dates. None of them are currently available for purchase. They're all straight up just demos. In fact, all of these, I believe, have recently had their demos released. So I got a whole bunch of these together, and I thought it would be better to just present these all in one shot rather than trying to do a video for each one. It just kind of consolidates it together. And then if and when these come out into full release and we get a better look at it, maybe I'll do something more in depth for each one. But I wanted to get these out in front of you guys because I thought these were all pretty cool. And I was provided keys for every one of these to try the demos out before the demos actually hit the public space. So all of these are available. They will be linked below down in the description box. And if you're interested in any of them, wish list them, keep an eye on them. They're all very cool. They all have Q2 or Q3 release dates. Now, they don't have actual firm dates. It's just, Q2, Q3, something like that. So who knows when they're actually going to come out. But we're going to take a look at 4 games, and I will have timestamps for where each of the games starts if you're interested in a specific title. And again, the games themselves will be linked, or the Steam page for the games will be linked down in the description box below. So let's dive in. The first game we're going to take a look at is Albert's Ark Idle. This is developed and published by Albert Tross Productions. It will release, or should release, sometime in Q2 of 2025, which is winding down very quickly. So I don't know if this one's going to get pushed to Q3 or not, but the Steam page says Q2. The pricing information that I was given is that it should be under $5. There is a demo available. Again, it will be linked in the Steam description down below. This is a clicker slash idler type game with some mini games along with it. This was inspired by the Disney Adventure comic series Around the World with Albert Tross and the novel The Enchantment of Albert. I'm not familiar with either one, but given the look of the game and the art style and everything, I would say it probably matches the vibe of what it's inspired by, because it looks really good. It's really sharp, really nice, cartoony looking graphics and everything. And there is offline progression, there is prestige, and there are some achievements associated with it. You can also set this to windowed mode if that is important to you. I am currently running it in full screen. The way you start this game, and it's kind of hard to show, I'm not sure if I can reset my progression or not, but I'm basically showing you a few hours into the game. But the way you start everything is with a blank slate. You click on the castle, you generate some coin, and then as you generate enough coin, you'll be able to start automating things. And once you automate things, you can upgrade them, unlock new buildings, and play the mini games and keep enhancing your game and building it up. The easiest way to describe this game is that it's very reminiscent of Cookie Clicker, where you start off clicking on the cookie, and then as you automate things and you start getting, the game starts generating its own gold, it kind of plays itself for a while, and then you make decisions here and there. The difference with this one is there are mini games you can play, and playing the mini games unlocks this DNA coin, or whatever you want to call it. It's a material or a resource that can be used to upgrade the buildings and unlock the buildings and things like that. And then when you unlock the buildings, you get access to the mini games, and then collecting more and more DNA lets you upgrade the buildings. So you start off collecting gold from the castle, and then once you start unlocking everything and unlocking the automation modes, you start building up a lot of gold in the background. And then as you play the mini games, the gold will build up in the background while you're collecting DNA items that you can then, or DNA resource, which you can then upgrade the the buildings, unlock new mini games and things like that. So as you unlock buildings, you'll get more mini games, and then there's additional mini games or additional tiers of the mini games within each of the buildings that you unlock. Every so often, you will get raided by pirates, which I believe, I think I've been raided twice. And the first time I definitely had to do it manually. So they'll lob bombs and stuff in there, and you'll have to go click on the button or click on the bombs to defuse them or whatever. And there are ways of automating that through the shop, which you'll unlock as you collect more coins and things like that. So the invasion or raiding, whatever they call it in the game, is like its own little mini game that kind of randomly shows up. You'll get attacked by the pirates. And that's pretty much the gameplay loop. You get things started, you get it into the idle mode, and then once you're ready to there, once you've got it into the idle mode, you can start playing the mini games, unlocking the buildings, playing more mini games, upgrading buildings and things like that. That's your basic gameplay loop. And then once you've completed all of that and gotten to the prestige mode, you can prestige. I've not reached that point yet, but with the offline progression, you can check it once a day, spend all your coins up, and it's a little more casual. The thing that I really like about this is that you can play the mini games, and the mini games are kind of basic, but they're intriguing. You'll go from one to the other. You know, I don't really like playing one mini game too much. Some of them are a little better, some of them are a little worse. But while you're playing that, you're gaining progression in the background with the gold, and then you get done with the mini game. Maybe you can upgrade a building, maybe you can't. Maybe you just go into some more mini games and keep playing those. But all throughout that time, you can spend gold on upgrades and things like that in the shop and keep progressing your game forward. And then when you're done with your session for the day, you can log out and then come back the next day, get some offline gold progression, and continue forward. So the buildings that I have seen so far is a harbor, which gives you a little you have to drive a little boat around some obstacles and get it to the other side. Then there's a fishing hut, which gives you fishing. There's a market that gives you a matching game. There is a magic tower. This lets you cast a spell for things like decreased upgrade or building costs. There is a castle kitchen, which has a different sort of a matching game. One is where you drag things together and make more complex shapes, if you want to call it that. The other matching game is one of those where you got to match 3 in a row. So they're matching games, but different, if you want to look at it that way. There's a cartographer where you uncover clouds to find treasure, and you click through the clouds and you find the treasure. There is a temple, which gives you some short-term buffs. There's a farm, which gives you crops that enhance various items, and there's a cost of growing the crops and everything. And then the big culmination of all of it is a volcano with these various creatures that you put another matching game together to unlock the creatures so that you can have them give you some benefits, like extra gold production or things like that. So the game is very cool. It's pretty in-depth so far. I'm going to guess this is going to release fairly soon. It's felt really good. I've played this multiple times over the last couple of months, and it's felt really good. So this one is Albert's Ark Idle. Again, there will be a link down in the description box for the Steam page, and wishlist it if you are interested. The next game we're going to take a look at is Bounce Masters. This is developed by Plagendary and Joybits and published by Joybits and Azure Games. The slated release date on the Steam page is Q3 2025. Price is to be determined. There is a demo. It will be linked in the description box below. And the basic premise of this is similar to a lot of the old Flash games, and even before that, there was games I played as a little kid way back when, where the basic concept is that you're going to lob some kind of projectile from one side of the screen to the other. And you've seen this in a variety of ways, like it's very reminiscent of Angry Birds in some respects, but you're not destroying buildings or something on the other side or trying to lob mortars at tanks or anything like that. The concept is to launch a penguin from one side of the screen and get as far as you can to the other side. Now, the interesting thing, or one of the differentiating factors that this game has, is that you will bounce off of other things. So when you first do your bat swing and get the penguin launching in the air, as he arcs down, he will land on the ground or hit a walrus or a penguin or something like that, and he'll bounce back up. And when he bounces back up, you have control, and really you have control once he's in flight at any point in time. You can left click and he will dive back into the ground. So the concept is you take an initial swing that launches him far off to the left, And then as he's coming down and you're progressing off in that left direction, you'll start running into things on the ground like walruses and whales and stuff like that. And if you bounce off of those, left click to pop down and bounce off of those, you'll start building up a combo. You'll start collecting gold coins and stuff along the way. And then that's pretty much the concept. As you collect more coins, you'll be able to do some upgrades, speed, strength, things like that. And there are some challenges you can complete. Once you complete the challenges, they give you a bunch more gold, and then you can keep upgrading. And that's kind of the concept of it, is to keep upgrading as you go, keep building up your score and do better and better. There is a little bit of a leaderboard if you're interested in that. It's pretty addicting. And I found myself doing that whole one more game thing, just one more, you know, I can do better than that. And then you do poorly and all right, I got to do another one. It's a very fun, you've probably played this in a number of different ways. It never gets old. Games like this are just enjoyable to sit down and play. The only thing you're trying to do is score and things like that. So they're pretty cool the way they come out. This one is Bounce Masters. Again, I will have a link to the Steam page down below, and let's move on to the next one. The next game we're going to take a look at is a game called Lightem. Now, this is developed and published by Mina Pichot, and I'm probably butchering that name. Apologies if I do. It is slated to release in Q3 of 2025, priced at $4.99. There is a demo available and will be linked down in the description box below. The basic premise of this game is that it is a clicker/idle game where you build constellations and you can prestige or reboot. They call it a little bit differently in this game, but the whole concept is creating constellations. Now, there are whatever random abominations of a constellation you can create. As you see on the screen, I've created a lot of weird stuff, but there's also some real life constellations that you can create, and there's little templates you can follow. The telescope in the upper right, if you can afford it, will give you a template of a real constellation, and you try to build that into what it is, and then you'll get credit for it. There's also a little encyclopedia that has entries for the various constellations. But you can create your own abomination, and I believe the game just automatically names whatever you create something, and then you have the option of renaming it if you so choose. Now, as you play through this, the stars will generate a couple of different kinds of currency. As you lay stars down and click on the stars, they generate the white currency, which is how you buy new stars and create new constellations and things like that. You can buy the automation process through there. And that is the general currency that you're going to use when you're playing the game and working on building whatever constellations you're building. Now, as you build constellations and they validate in the game and get identified with a name, you will generate the blue currency. And the more complex and probably the more different kinds of stars and everything you get, the more blue currency you will generate. And when you fill the blue bar at the bottom, that lets you reboot, which is essentially an ascendancy from what I can tell. Now, when you ascend, you have the option of spending the blue currency on a passive tree. So there gives you options for unlocking new stars. Like when I first started playing the game, I only had stars available. As I've rebooted a few times, I've unlocked pulsars and quasars, which give you more of the white currency they also cost more of the white currency to place, but they give you more white currency when you click on them or when you automate them. And they look like, I'm gonna guess that they give you more blue currency when you complete constellations with the newer and fancier stars. So that's pretty much the gameplay loop. You go through and build constellations. You can build whatever random abomination you want. The game will detect it. If you happen to build something like the Big Dipper or something like that, it will actually recognize it and then give you kudos for doing that. And then you generate your currency, reboot, rinse and repeat, and it looks like there's a cap on how many different nodes in the passive tree you can buy. I've rebooted a few times now, and there's also other panels you can branch off to, which I've not had enough currency to branch off into. Those are starting to cost like 100 million or something like that to do, and the best I've ever done is maybe 20 million or something like that before I was able to reboot. But the game looks very cool. I'm very intrigued with this one. I like how a lot of these different idle and clicking games are just drastically different from each other. And like we looked at Albert Tross earlier, they're the same genre in some ways, but in other ways they're like completely different and totally apart from each other. So if you're interested in this game, I will have a link to the Steam page down below for the demo. You can check it out for yourself, and let's move on to the next game. The final game we're going to take a look at is called Syl and the Fading World. This is developed and published by Icecrack Games. I have no release date or pricing information at this time. They do have a Kickstarter coming soon, and hopefully we get a lot more information in that Kickstarter about more of the details of what the full game will entail, what its pricing will be, and when the release date and all that, and whether it's coming out into early access and all that kind of information. Don't have any of that now, but we'll keep an eye out for the Kickstarter. There is currently a demo that was recently released. It will be linked down, the Steam page will be linked down in the description box below. What Syl and the Fading World is a game where you face MMO bosses by yourself. This is a solo game, offline PvE. You face MMO bosses by yourself in a third-person ARPG style game. There are a wide variety of classes to try, a bunch of different skills. There's a lot of different gear with different tiers for each piece of gear. There's skill, a variety of skills, different affinities. There's a big passive tree. There's relics, soul cores for upgrading and enhancing your character and things like that. Quests, side quests, all of that's in this demo that you can try out. And the concept is you're going to go kill off trash mobs. They maybe guard chests or resources you can grab. You get gear from them. You can do some upgrades. There's some vendors you can hit here and there. And once you get through all the trash mobs and get built up and ready to go, you face a boss. Now, I don't remember exactly how many different bosses there are. Probably 3, 4, 5 different bosses. I'm not sure. But the basic premise is you go kill a bunch of trash mobs, gear up, fight the boss, go on to the next area, fight those trash mobs, gear up, fight the next boss, rinse and repeat. And then once you've made it through one of the full loops, you come back to the beginning, and then you can set to a higher difficulty tier. And there's like a half a dozen different difficulty tiers, and then rinse and repeat going through all those. So it's pretty much the same bosses over and over, same trash mobs and same bosses multiple times until you've completed the demo. It's very promising. I think it's very cool. I've enjoyed what I've played. It's a little difficult. The control scheme is WASD. This is what I didn't like about Path of Exile 2, is the WASD, and then all the skills and everything you have to do are coming off like the 1, 2, 3 key and stuff like that. So you've got a whole lot of button pressing. You're trying to backpedal and hit a skill at the same time. My fingers get crossed as I'm playing it, but it plays well in the third person, and you've got space to dodge and things like that. The only real complaints that I wish there was an always run button. I hate having to press run because it always comes out moving slow, and I'm trying to dodge something, and now I got to press shift to make it go. So I wish it always ran or had a toggle for always run. And the other concern that I have, which will be addressed in whatever they do with the Kickstarter and, as the information for the game develops, is how many different bosses are they going to have? Right now, the game feels fairly limited. It is certainly a demo. It is a very good demo, but it does get repetitive. After I went through about the second, third, maybe fourth iteration, wherever I'm at with the runs through the bosses, it did get a little bit old and stale. So I'm hoping they have different arenas, different, we're in a lava area. Hopefully they have different areas of the world, like maybe a snow or a jungle area or something like that. And a variety of bosses, a wide variety. I don't know. I think you'd have to have quite a number of bosses to really have a lot of replayability. But that said, there are different classes you can try, a lot of different skills you can play. There is a lot of variety here. It's just fighting some of the same bosses over and over again. So time will tell how good this is, but it's very, very intriguing with the demo that they've got. Again, this will be linked down in the description below if you're interested in checking it out. Now, I know I had originally said that there was only going to be 4 games in this video. However, as I was editing the video, I noticed that Steam Next Fest was starting, and they included this game, Mining Survivors, which the developer had reached out a couple of months ago and asked if I was interested in checking the game out. And I got a demo key back then, so it's been sitting here ever since, and I just quite honestly forgot about it. I played a very brief amount of it way back in the day, said it looked cool, but because they didn't have a release date or anything at that point, I didn't want to do a video for it quite yet, and I was just going to keep my eye out for whenever it actually did release. So when I saw it on the Steam Next Fest, I said, you know what, I'm going to include it in this video because this is just a bunch of random demos with no release date anyway, so this just fits right into it. This is Mining Survivors, developed and published by Wonderbounce Games. The release date they show on the Steam page is Q3 2025, which also lines up with all the other games we've looked at so far. They list this one as a idler Actually, it's called a incremental survivors like, which you mine valuable resources while slaying hordes of enemies. So I haven't played too terribly far into this, but what I've played's been pretty fun. It's your standard survivor style game where you're going to go and you're going to kill off monsters. You're going to get XP pellets. You're going to level up and get new upgrades between like pickaxe damage, weapon damage, things like that. But the added piece to this is that you're actually trying to mine rocks and minerals out while you're doing all of this. So when you start off, you'll get a brief moment of no monsters, so you can whack on some rocks and get some stone built up. But then all of a sudden the monsters start showing up, and that's when you have to start dodging between trying to mine rocks and get ore, or killing off monsters and getting XP and things like that. It's a little bit of a tough start because you move fairly slow and you don't really have all that good of a weapon at first. So your sessions are going to be really short. But as you build up and upgrade your character and everything, you get more and more power built in, and things become easier, as one would expect a survivor style game. I need to see what the idler part of this is because I haven't got that far, and I'm very intrigued by what they would do with this as an idler. But I did want to include this one in here, so we're going to take a very quick look at this one. And I wished I could have more in-depth conversation about this one, but I really haven't spent enough time with it yet. And I thought I was going to have more time before the game actually released. So this one's coming in pretty cold. I just saw it on the Steam page and I said, yes, I need to actually include that because I thought the game was really cool. And this is the video to include that with. So we will be following up more with this one. And once again, I will have the Steam page linked in the description box below. So that is the final game that we are going to take a look at for this video. And that is going to wrap this video up. We will catch you on the next one. Take care.